The drone control program I led the development of won an international award and sold for $50 million. The company promised me a $500,000 bonus, but on payday, the $500,000 went to a new intern. Thinking it was a payroll screw-up, I stormed into my boss's office. "Sam, was there a mistake with the bonus payout?" Samantha Reed didn't even bother to look up. "Caleb, I've looked into this. Leo wrote most of the core code. The kid is constantly here late, even on weekends. She continued, her voice dripping with condescension. "You're on your phone the minute your work is done. Clock out on the dot. Attitude is everything." I almost laughed in her face. He's an intern. Does he even understand the full code base? "That's enough," Sam cut me off. "The company's decision is final. I see how hard everyone works. If you're not happy, you're free to look elsewhere." She slid a resignation letter across her desk. My heart went cold. I signed it on the spot. As I was leaving, I threw one last shot over my shoulder. "Listen, Sam, if you run into any technical problems, do me a favor and ask your hard-working golden boy Leo Vance to solve them. Don't bother calling me." She just smiled, completely unfazed. "No problem." Walking through the open plan office, I could hear the whispers. "Look, he's out. Face is black as a skillet. Man, $500,000 gone. Who wouldn't be pissed? What's the point of being pissed? If you can't hold on to it, who can you blame? Sam's right. Attitude is everything." Exactly. Leo's burning the midnight oil every single night. This guy punches the clock at 5 on the dot, rain or shine, and he still wants all the credit. The world doesn't work like that. One particularly sharp voice cut through the rest. It was Big Mike, a guy who had gotten chummy with Leo lately. I think he was just coasting on his reputation, thought he was untouchable. Well, he played his hand wrong. Serve him right. "You said it. Acted like the project couldn't run without him. Turns out Leo stepped up and wrote even cleaner code. I bet his lead developer title was mostly for show. I heard he was at the hospital every day last month. Maybe something's going on at home. Please, who doesn't have stuff going on at home? Is he special? This is a company that values dedication. Guys like Leo are the future. He just couldn't keep up. It was only a matter of time before he was obsolete. Giving the $500,000 to Leo was the right call. It encourages the next generation. Some people just get old and need to get out of the way for new blood." The comments were dripping with snide satisfaction and malicious twists of the truth. It was as if they had completely forgotten the 9 years I'd spent here. The all-nighters, the impossible technical hurdles I'd overcome, the way I'd built our tech team from the ground up. All they saw was my last month of clocking out on time. Big Mike, especially. He used to slap me on the back and call me his brother. Now his voice was the loudest, spitting venom about how I didn't deserve my position, how I was a leech. I couldn't take it anymore. I stopped, turned, and walked straight to his desk. He was still mid-rant, a smug sneer on his face. My eyes fell on the mug on his desk. The one printed with Innovator of the Year. It was a commemorative item the company had given out after my team landed a massive contract last year. I grabbed it. As his eyes widened in shock, I slammed it onto the floor. Crack! The sharp sound of shattering ceramic echoed through the office. The entire floor fell dead silent. Every whisper, every point of finger stopped. Big Mike's face went from red to white, his lips trembling. He couldn't get a single word out. I shot a cold glare around the room. One by one, they avoided my gaze, suddenly fascinated by their keyboards. Without saying a word, I turned and walked into my personal office. The silence in the bullpen was so thick, it was suffocating. I closed the door and started packing my things. My fingers brushed against a slightly worn picture frame on my desk. It was a photo of my team and me after we completed the first major module test. Everyone in the picture had genuine smiles, their eyes full of light. Now it was all gone. The rage in my chest slowly gave way to a deeper, colder sorrow. 9 years. I had poured the best years of my life into this place. I was the last one to turn off the lights more nights than I could count. I was the one in the server room on weekends running diagnostics. I was the one who led the charge against every impossible bug, every looming deadline. And the drone program, the one that won the international award and sold for a fortune, its core architecture, its initial concept, its most complex flight control algorithms and pathfinding code. Which line of it wasn't written with my blood, sweat, and tears? Last month, my mother had suddenly fallen seriously ill and was hospitalized. Her condition was critical. By then, the main development of the program was complete. We were in the final tedious stages of cleanup and bug squashing. I was stretched thin and had to delegate. It was Leo, the seemingly diligent and shy intern, who came to me. He offered to take on more work so I could focus on my family. I was incredibly grateful at the time. I handed off the grunt work, the stuff that was more about man-hours and brain power. Things like running endless unit tests, debugging APIs, filling in code for non-essential modules, writing comments, and organizing the development logs. I gave almost all of it to him. I even praised him publicly in a team meeting, saying how proactive and responsible he was. I never imagined that what I saw as simple work would become core code in Samantha Reed's eyes. And I never imagined that the overtime hours I had to sacrifice to care for my mother would become ironclad proof of my bad attitude and slacking off. The office door creaked open, and a familiar figure walked in. It was Leo. He wore an expression that was a practiced blend of guilt and anxiety as he shuffled toward me. "Caleb," he started, "that bonus, I feel like I don't deserve it. It should be yours. I want to give it back to you." I didn't look up, just kept packing my box. An image of Leo on his first day flashed in my mind. A clean-cut kid clutching a laptop, nervously asking for help, his eyes shining with a thirst for knowledge. "Okay," I finally said, looking up at him, my gaze steady. "Wire it now." "I'm waiting." The guilty look on his face froze as if someone had hit pause. A flicker of shock and anger crossed his eyes. He clearly hadn't expected me to call his bluff. After a moment of stunned silence, a smirk twisted his lips. "Caleb, I was just being polite. You're not actually going to take it, are you?" Leo let out a small, mocking laugh. "I earned this money fair and square. Sam saw the truth. She recognized my skill and my dedication. I wrote the core code. I was the one putting in the hours. What makes you think you deserve a dime of it?" he said, his eyes greedily scanning my private office, a sense of ownership already in his gaze. "Actually, I should be thanking you for stepping aside. From now on, this office, it's mine." The smug, triumphant look on his face was a world away from the humble intern I remembered. "Fair and square." I took a step closer, closing the distance between us. "You mean the skill of changing variable names in an already debugged API, reformatting comments, and passing off a completed test suite as your own core algorithm? Or do you mean the skill of always making sure you were furiously typing gibberish whenever Sam walked by your desk? Or having a pre-written document open to make it look like you were hard at work?" I spoke slowly, but every word was a needle aimed at his deepest insecurities. I had pieced it all together later. He had taken advantage of my family emergency, knowing I wouldn't have time to double-check his work. He'd used his intern status, which gave him access to process files and test code, but not the true core, to meticulously build a false narrative of being a key contributor. Over the last month, Leo's face flushed, the manufactured confidence crumbling into the raw shame of being exposed. His breathing grew ragged. You're lying," he stammered, his eyes darting around the room, unable to meet mine. "Am I?" "You and I both know the truth," I said coldly. "Those core modules you submitted, the ones you claim to have written yourself, their underlying function calls and logical structure are identical to the framework I built from scratch. You just wrapped them in a clumsy new layer and added some flashy, useless comments. Do you want me to post my original design documents and your work side by side on a tech forum? We can let the community have a look, shall we? That broke him. His biggest weakness was his shallow technical foundation. His work could never stand up to real scrutiny. Sam didn't know code, so she was easily fooled by appearances. But in the development community, people knew their stuff. Leo's face went from red to white, then to a sickly shade of green. Just then, his gaze landed on the old picture frame on my desk. Inside was a photo of my mother and me from a trip we took last year. A sly look crossed his face. He suddenly reached out, pretending to stumble, and swept the frame off the desk. It hit the floor, and the glass shattered. He then lurched forward, bringing his foot down hard on the splintered glass and the photograph beneath it. Oops. Sorry, Caleb. Didn't see that there. In that instant, all the blood in my body rushed to my head. I grabbed him by the collar and my right hand swung out. Smack! A sharp, ringing slap sent Leo's head snapping to the side, a bright red handprint already blooming on his cheek. Get out! Just then, the office door was thrown open. Caleb, what are you doing? Sam stood in the doorway, her face a thunderous mask. She had clearly been passing by and seen the whole thing. Leo immediately transformed into a victim, his voice trembling. I was just trying to apologize to Caleb about the bonus. I don't know why he got so angry, he just hit me. Caleb. Sam's voice was sharp as glass. I can't believe you're this petty. The bonus was a company decision. Even if you disagree, you don't have a right to attack a colleague, especially when he came here to apologize. Apologize? I pointed a shaking finger at the floor. He knocked over a picture of my mother and ground his heel into it. Is that how he apologizes? Sam glanced down, her brow furrowing for a split second before smoothing over. It's just a picture frame. It broke. Is that really worth assaulting someone over? I think the bonus has driven you mad. Leo let out a well-timed sniffle from the side, making himself look even more helpless. Sam, please don't blame Caleb. Maybe I did something to make him angry. Seeing his performance only fueled Sam's rage toward me. Caleb, I gave you a chance and you threw it away. Now pack your things and get out of my building. Immediately I knelt, carefully picking up the photograph from the shattered glass. I placed it in my bag along with the last of my personal items. My silence and composure seemed to surprise them. They probably expected me to scream, to argue, to lose control, but I was done. Zipping up my backpack, I walked toward the door. As I passed Sam, I paused. I turned my head slightly, my voice flat and devoid of emotion. Sam, remember what you said today? I hope you don't regret it. And I hope Leo is as capable as he seems. Sam's brow tightened as if she wanted to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. I walked out without a backward glance. There was nothing left for me here. When I got home, my mother, recently discharged from the hospital, was resting on the sofa. Seeing me home so much earlier than usual with a dark look on my face, she asked what was wrong. I told her everything, the resignation, the stolen bonus. She didn't blame me for a second. She took my hand and patted it gently. Good for you for quitting. A company like that doesn't deserve my son's hard work. Your health and your peace of mind are what's important. I've still got some savings, Mom. Don't rush to find a new job. Just rest for a while. Her words were a warm current, soothing my frayed nerves. The next few days felt like they were in slow motion. In the mornings, I'd go with my mom to the farmer's market, listening to her expertly haggle with the vendors for the freshest produce. Later, we'd go for a walk in the park, and I'd awkwardly try to follow along with the seniors doing their morning stretches. In the afternoon, we'd sit on the porch with a pot of herbal tea, watching the leaves swirl in the cups and talking about nothing in particular. Life was quiet and calm. This long overdue, grounded existence slowly began to heal my heart, which had grown numb from the relentless grind of the corporate world. It was during this quiet time that the past few years came flooding back. each memory as sharp as a newly developed photograph. I remember the early days when the company was just a struggling startup. To break through a key client's technical barrier, a few engineers and I lived at the office for 3 straight months. When we got tired, we'd unroll a sleeping bag under our desk for a quick nap. In the end, we not only solved their problem, but designed an optimization solution that blew their expectations out of the water. That deal secured our first major funding and established our technical reputation. I remember the time a competitor launched a DOS attack on our servers, nearly crippling our services and sending clients into a panic. I worked for 48 hours straight, leading the team to trace the attack, fight it off, and counter-exploit a vulnerability on their end. We saved the company from massive losses and delivered a firm slap to our rival. That battle made our name in the industry. And most vividly, I remember the award-winning drone project. The initial concept was born from my master's thesis. The core flight control algorithm and dynamic pathfinding model were things I had painstakingly built in the dead of night, endlessly testing, debugging, and optimizing line by line. The very first crude prototype was assembled and tested in my own living room. The soul and skeleton of that project had my name etched into them from the very beginning. It was through these hard-fought battles that the company grew from a dozen people crammed into a dingy office to a rising star on the verge of an IPO. The founder, the elder Mr. Reed, was a brilliant and forward-thinking man who valued my contributions immensely. He didn't just give me his full trust and support at work. In private, he'd often clap me on the shoulder and say to others, half joking, half serious, "If my Sam had half of Caleb's stability and competence, I'd be thrilled. I swear I'd feel better about leaving her the company one day if you were here to help." Back then, Samantha was still studying abroad, and everyone dismissed it as just the boss's wishful thinking. But that validation and belief had meant the world to me, making all the sacrifices feel worthwhile. Then tragedy struck. Mr. Reed passed away suddenly from a heart attack, and Sam, who had spent years studying management and fine arts, was rushed back to take over the company. At first, she was polite enough, even consulting me on major technical decisions. But somewhere along the line, the atmosphere in the company began to change. The pragmatic, results-driven culture her father had fostered was gradually replaced by her new management philosophy, one that emphasized attitude, dedication, and corporate culture. The polish on your PowerPoint presentation, the light still on at your desk long after hours, your enthusiastic participation in company-organized team-building events. These superficial things seemed to impress her more than the actual technical contributions and project milestones her father had valued. I was too absorbed in the tech itself to pay much attention to these shifts. It wasn't until the $500,000 bonus incident that it hit me like a bolt of lightning, shaking me awake. Sam didn't want a technical cornerstone who could win battles. She wanted a poster boy for her management philosophy, and Leo Vance fit the bill perfectly. After a month of rest, I started browsing job sites, updating my resume, and applying to a few well-known tech firms in the industry. I was confident at first with my resume and technical skills. Finding a good job shouldn't have been difficult, but my applications mostly disappeared into a black hole. The few interviews I did get went great during the technical portion, only for the company's attitude to suddenly cool, their follow-ups becoming vague before they ghosted me completely. After hitting a few of these walls, a former colleague I was still on good terms with messaged me privately with the truth. "Caleb, it's not your skills. Someone's been putting the word out in the community that you've got character issues, that you pull rank and coast on your reputation. They're saying you stole an intern's work and even got violent. A lot of companies think you're toxic now." I knew instantly it was Sam's doing. She didn't just want me gone. She wanted my career ruined. My mother saw the worry on my face for days and finally pressed me until I told her what was happening. Her face went pale with anger, and she stood up abruptly. "I'm going to go talk to her. How dare she spread such lies?" I gently took her hand and sat her back down. Mom, it's okay. There's no rush. I looked out the window, my voice calm. It's almost time. Soon she'll be coming to me. My mother looked at me confused. Before she could speak, my phone lying on the table buzzed loudly. The screen lit up with a single name, Samantha Reed. I answered and put it on speaker. Caleb. Sam's voice had lost all its usual composure. It was tight with panic. You need to get to the Apex Dynamics campus on the west side right now. It's an emergency. The drone program we sold them. It's failing in the final demonstration. The flight control system is cutting out intermittently, and the pathfinding is a total mess. She practically yelled. The client is furious. This has to be fixed today. The background was noisy. I could faintly hear the sounds of heated arguments. I waited for her to finish before I spoke, my voice perfectly level. Sam, I think you have the wrong number. I don't work for you anymore. For the company's technical problems, you should probably contact the guy who got the $500,000 bonus. The one who's always working late. There was a distinct pause on the other end of the line. Sam clearly hadn't expected such a blunt refusal. After a moment of silence, her voice rose in pitch. Caleb, what kind of attitude is that? Even if you're not with the company anymore, you were one of the main developers on this program. Don't you have any sense of responsibility? The company invested in you for years, and now that we're in trouble, you're just going to wash your hands of it. Responsibility? I let out a short, humorless laugh, cutting her off. Sam, let me ask you something. Who was it whose core work was stolen? Whose credit was given to someone else? And who was then kicked to the curb? Who was it that was judged for having a bad attitude for clocking out on time while his mother was critically ill in the hospital? And who was it that after leaving had vicious rumors spread about him throughout the industry, destroying his career prospects? And now you want to talk to me about responsibility? My tone was even, but each word was a razor. Sam, search your conscience. From the moment I walked out of that office, is there a single shred of goodwill left between me and the company? Is there a single ounce of responsibility I still owe you? You. Sam was speechless. Her ragged breathing came through the speaker. She had no answer to my questions. Just then, I heard Leo's breathless voice in the background. Sam, I fixed it. I found a bug in the flight control system. It was an environmental variable conflict in a low-level parameter configuration. It's patched. The client is running a new test right now. It's working perfectly. They're completely satisfied. His voice was bright and clear, filled with triumphant pride. Instantly, Sam's tone did a complete 180. Ah, Caleb, did you hear that? The world keeps spinning without you. In fact, without you, we solve problems faster and better. Don't think for a second that Leo is just an intern. His technical skills are far greater than you ever imagined, she sneered. And to think my father valued you so much. He was a terrible judge of character. If he were here today seeing you like this, so petty and completely lacking in perspective, I can't imagine how disappointed he would be. Her words grew more vicious, even bringing up her late father, using that last bit of shared history to try and wound me, to diminish me. In the past, her words might have made me angry or heartbroken. But now, listening to her confidently spew her upside-down version of reality, I just found it laughable. The problem is solved that quickly? I said. Well, I hope so, Sam, for your sake. I paused for a beat. But let me give you a piece of advice. This is just the beginning. Let's see how this plays out. Before she could respond, I ended the call and blocked her number. The room fell silent again. My mother sat beside me, her face a mixture of worry and lingering anger. Son, how can she say those things to you? After everything you did for that company for 9 years, she knows the truth. I put my phone away, a calm smile on my face as I refilled her teacup. Don't be angry, Mom. She's like a grasshopper in autumn. She won't be jumping for long, but she said the problem is solved. Solved? I chuckled. Not even close. I smiled, explaining to my mother that I'd reviewed the changes Leo had made to the code. Today's issue was a minor bug, something any novice could have fixed. But the more severe bugs, the ones he introduced with his self-important optimizations, were still lurking.